Welcome to How to Brothel, a Go Woo Yourself miniseries, Episode 8, Activities at Legal Brothels. I am your host and writer of these posts, Robbie, and my goal, always, is for us to learn how to connect with other humans in satisfying ways, to spread ripples of love, and to share our individual wisdom and woosdom so that we may co-create a sexier, more loving world together. If you would like to read the written version without my personal commentary, you can find all of these posts on my website, lunarrobbie.com/FAQ, and that is also where you can ask me any questions I haven't covered yet. I have a few dozen topics currently planned for this series, and all of them are inspired and prioritized by the most common queries I get from friends, lovers, and other curious humans. So let's dive in. What are we allowed to do? This is a question I receive in email often. What is actually behind it, half of the time I'm realizing, is, are we allowed to have sex? And what I can say is the only place a courtesan and guest are officially allowed to talk about specifics of activity and price are in a ladies' room at the ranch. But to sum it up, you can totally make your wildest dreams come true. So first, a menu overview. If you go on a tour at Sheri's ranch, you will see a sign that looks like this image that I have in my blog post, which you can find at lunarrobbie.com/FAQ. It says house specialties in this scripted font above the Sheri's purple. It has a little Sheri lady at the bottom, and I'll read it to you since we are not there. Straight lay, popular, good old-fashioned hot sex. Half and half. Oral pleasure and hot sex. Oh my gosh, I've never read the subheadings out loud. This is so fun. Girl on girl show. Watch us play. Sheri's Ranch box office hit. Two-girl party. Double your pleasure, double the fun. I can always tell when people have been, shall we say, connoisseurs of indie work when they write to me about a duo. This is a funny, interesting thing. So I am a researcher of the entire hierarchy. Before I became a courtesan, I was simply a researcher, an anecdotal researcher. I still am. And I learned that in the world of independent escorting, they call it a duo. In legal brothels, we call it a two-girl. Double your pleasure, double the fun. That's the two-girl tag. Wild and wet bubble bath. No rubber duckies needed. Wait. What is the implication there about what a rubber ducky might be needed for? Like, is the idea that you have a wild lady in a wet bubble bath so you don't need a ducky, but otherwise... Now I'm having all sorts of silly rubber ducky masturbation fantasies. All right, if there are any rubber ducky fetishists out there, I'm now curious if you've masturbated with a rubber ducky. I'm having a vision of having one on my pussy, and now I'm having a vision of, there used to be these two mini rubber duckies that I had, and now I'm like, would a penis owner slide them along, like with the beaks and backs and tails like this? Or would it be anyway, no rubber duckies needed. So now I'm like, I want to have a rubber ducky party. I really need to make my brothel bucket list. My bucket list is way too long. I may publish it soon. I mean, it's published if you know where to find it, but shower passion party. Come clean in a wet, steamy shower. They spelled come, C-U-M. Menage a trois. Enjoy more variety. Bi party. Couples party. Okay, that's different from a two-girl. Couples parties are so fun. Vibrator party. Porn, sex toys, and your fantasies. Lingerie show. Sexy lingerie, high heels, and stockings. Oh my! Drag party, dress up, tease me, please me. I've had like 3 people be like, hey, Luna, I'm interested in a drag party. And I was like, yes, I have wigs. You can wear my dresses or I'll dress you up. Because I had one of my gateway experiences was as a photographer, I had a client come see me and it was her first time being photographed in drag. And it was such a deeply intimate, non-sexual, like all the photography that I do outside of the ranch may be erotic, but I am not allowed to touch client other than like, hey, can I adjust your hair or this or that? But I typically don't touch if it's a sexual situation, just to keep those lines real clear. But this person, it was so fun. It was so healing. Like, she loved being witnessed, and she had pictures of herself dressed up so pretty, and she had on stockings, and she had her boobs, and it was great. So dress up, tease me, please me. On the right-hand column, hot French oil massage sets the mood for erotic pleasure. Pleasure exchange massage. In quotes, you rub my back and I'll rub yours. Full body massage. With a happy ending, of course. I mean, not of course. It's nothing is you can have exactly what you want is the point. Like this is just a menu. It's just a general guideline. Lick 'em up. Oh, I see. It's like stick 'em up. Okay. Okay. I never understood that until I said it out loud. Thank goodness I'm doing this. Erotic tongue licking all over. I will say I've never licked anyone all over. I mean, there's certain areas that would definitely have to be covered at the range. That's okay, but ooh, I'm intrigued. Ooh, I'm now having the urge to lick a bald head. Yay! Hot and cold French. Some like it hot, some like it cold. Exclamation point. Huh. Okay, some like it hot is some like it hot is from that song. It's also a reference to the classic film with, oh my God, Marilyn Monroe and those two funny guys who I love. I wonder what means. Maybe I'm supposed to read it like that. Some like it hot, some like it cold. I don't know. I would design a new sign if they would let me. Creme de menthe French. I'm really interested in why they use the word French in all of these. Like, is it to make it sound sexier? Is it actually pronounced Sheri's French? They should have spelled it different if so. Creme de menthe French, tingling your organ one lick at a time. I'm not sure what that means. Like, there is no world legally in which we can put a direct mouth, tingly or not, on an organ. Like, that's not, unless there's some sort of, I'm like, is there a minty condom I don't know about? Is there a, I know there are lubes that have different sensations, so maybe it's a reference to that, but interesting. Okay. Oh, this one I love. Breast lovers massage. No hands, just boobs. Oh, I was thinking of it differently. I love when other people massage my breasts. I do also love, I definitely have a move where this takes place. Doesn't have to be a Nuru. Can be a Nuru. Doesn't have to be a Nuru. Foot fetish. The things I can do with my toes. I will say, I have given some amazing foot jobs in some surprising positions, and it's so cool how things just unfold sometimes. My abs are strong, 30 minutes a day, 3 to 6 days a week is plenty. I have all the stamina and strength I need. Dominatrix. It's weird that it's just called dominatrix. Ready for spanking? Choose your gear. That is clearly written by someone who is not kinky. Fantasies fulfilled. Schoolgirl, nurse, French maid. You want it, we got it. Oh, I really got to put my bucket list online. So that's the general menu. It's just when I give people a tour, I tell them it's simply a guideline. It's certainly not comprehensive. And what we tell people on the tour is not every lady does everything on this menu or everything in the world. However, between all the ladies working at the ranch at a given time, you can usually find someone who you are attracted to who shares your interests. Like between the 24, 25 ladies we have working at a time, you can usually find someone. I would say most people are very curious. Most ladies who work there are pretty curious. I am one of the kinkier ones. Not everyone is into all the things, but some of us are like, ooh, let me try it, let me try it, let me try it. And then, some of us are like, oh yes, I've done it. Oh yes, I have experience. Oh yes, 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 yes. So I do have my own lunar menu. And while I do have a menu, every single session is ultimately custom tailored to that person, right? So it functions more as guidelines, and also many people are so overwhelmed when they come in. They're like, I don't know. I just want to have fun. I just want to have a good time. I don't know what's available. And so I find that a concrete menu can be a helpful tool for understanding another lover's priorities, especially since written words help some people to get the conversation started, especially if a person doesn't have a whole lot of experience talking about sex or intimacy with a partner. I know that this is something that I historically have struggled with. I've gotten to have so much practice working at Sheri's Ranch, which I love so much. I've also had a lot of other practice for years on the podcast, so I can definitely guide people through that conversation if they're willing. I definitely have had people who are completely unwilling to even try, and I tend to get frustrated with those people, although my patience has improved since those earlier times where that was happening. And I would say most of the people who find me now typically have read my website, gone through my FAQs, and they come in more excited than scared because they understand what to expect more. I also love pointing people towards things that I love. For example, extended retreats. How much of me can you handle? That includes GFEs, which is the girlfriend experience, a sleepover. You can have the best day ever, have me for a full 24 hours, a weekend dream, or a honeymoon phase, also known as a wife for a week. Or a honeymoon phase doesn't have to be a whole week. But Gigi and I have a top dream that has not yet been realized of having a polyamorous wife for a week. So a week-long 2-girl session, or even a swapping situation, but polyamorous wife for a week would definitely be a dream come true. There are also leisurely favorites that I have on my menu. These are kind of the classic sessions that people can build per their pleasure. So the way that I list it out on my menu is it's stackable. So this activity, kind of like on Patreon, you get this and everything above it. So there's a cuddly hang, which is where we just hang out, cuddling, usually clothes stay on. I'll probably get into undies. I like skin to skin contact. If someone is a boundary pusher, I can usually tell that based on how much they're trying to touch me in a negotiation without my invitation. Please remember to always let the lady initiate touch. People come to brothels to pay for touch, so don't steal anyone's wares. I do like to initiate touch with another human being before we've begun our party, in part because it helps our animal bodies settle down. If someone is very, very nervous, I may ask to touch them somewhere depending on, I try to kind of read a signal from their body, or I get a vibe. So it might be a hand on the heart, it might be a hand on the shoulder, it might be a touch on the knee, it might be my knee touching their knee. It might just be me sitting cross-legged on the couch next to them so that my knee is touching their thigh. I feel into it based on the person. For some people, they need a sense of formality until there's a go signal, right? So especially anyone who leans a little bit submissive. I come from a pretty formally kinky background, and so there is a ritual to it. But if an animal body is really, really nervous, I will breathe with someone and give them touches. However, that's my prerogative. So just remember that when you're with a lady, let her initiate, and she may not until you are in the party. The next step up is worship my body and touch yourself. So if you're not necessarily wanting me to do anything to you, but you want to worship my full body, and it's kind of like a live porn show, but it's interactive. But I am just here for you to feel and worship. That included hands everywhere. We stay outside of certain holes. Other holes may have access depending on whether you have any cuts on your hands. Remember, having nice manicured nails with no cuts is the best option for me because I do like to feel hands on me, especially on my private areas. It's so funny. Sometimes I speak euphemistically and sometimes I'm like, put it in my pussy. What have I said so far? Who knows? The next layer up is erotic massage. So that's you receiving massage. It can be mutual, but that's where usually I massage you all over with my body, with my hands. I am a good masseuse. I love touching. I'm pretty intuitive. I'm not formally trained, but one of my best friends is a genius massage therapist. So I've learned a thing or two. I know enough to be dangerous. And I've gotten some really good feedback on that. And that's always really fun, especially if you are in a space where you need just to receive and let go of any anxiety about performance and, just have a full sensual experience. And that's pretty fun. The next step up for me is usually unlimited sex. So that unlimited means we can go as many times as you want in a classic session. It's usually about an hour. However, the entire experience with our preamble and wrap-up time may end up being closer to 2 hours. I'm not a big keeper of time. However, I do ultimately use a timer. That's to make sure that you get a minimum amount of time that we've agreed on if we're in a session where we have to keep track of time. If we're in a luxurious situation where we get to lose track of time, then that's even better. And all of these things for me are included in the luxurious session. So unlimited sex means we get to just play and fuck as much as we want over and over, as many rounds as you want, as many comes as you want. I always say I will chase your pleasure, not your orgasm. Thank you, Suzanne, who taught me that. And I always find it's helpful to be able to be as organic as possible, right? So sex means different things to different people. However, in the context of the ranch, sex typically either means P in V, so penis and vagina sex, or if I am working with another pussy owner, then I may use a strap, or it may be hands, outside, inside, or toys, depending on that definition. The next step up is body worship and deluxe blowjob. So that means if it's a pussy owner, I'm worshiping the entire body. So I may use my mouth. That's me going down on you regardless of parts. deluxe blowjob means that I try to deep throat you. So the basic blowjob that's in the quickie, I won't necessarily try to deep throat. I can never guarantee if a certain phallus size will fit down my throat. It is not specifically related to size. Like, it's not specifically length. It's not specifically girth. Like, there have been larger cocks that I'm like, wow, that was easier than I expected. And then there have been some that I'm like, why is this difficult right now? It often has to do with the angle, with the curve. And if we have this amount of time, I can usually figure it out. This is one of my specialties. A lot of people who have played with me have said that they have never experienced receiving throat fucking before. And it is something that I love a lot, especially if a partner is also touching me or if I am like humping a leg. Again, it's going to depend on the angle that I need to make it happen. But this is one of my favorite. And another part of the body worship, if someone does not have a pussy. So if it's a pussy owner, it's a lot of massage. It's a lot of like working up. You know, I'm including lots of element from tantra, which include a lot of breathing, a lot of slow touch, which in true tantra, there is no goal of outcome. So that's the hot part of tantra, is like you're just feeling sensation and it's really, really arousing. But the whole point, the way that I was trained, there are many modalities, is that you are not seeking orgasm. So if we get close, then we back off and kind of keep that edging experience. Body worship here also includes, I will touch balls, I will touch perineums. You know, it's the deep work in the inner muscles. Most of us are holding so much pelvic tension. A lot of stress gets stored there. So it can also be very vulnerable. So it requires time, you know, feeling around the muscles in the butt, you know, both sides kind of. I love to kind of work blood flow to erogenous zones. So if someone is a pussy owner, I just take my time. I work on those thighs. I really explore what sensations are different kinds of impactful on that unique individual. And again, if it's someone who has a penis, there can be so much tension that a cock can be slurped up like an inch to an inch and a half. So I have massaged people and literally I had a past partner be like, you made my cock bigger. Like, you made my cock bigger. You need to tell everyone. I'm like, that's going to sound like a lie. And he's like, nope, you made it bigger because he came back to see me a few times, but I massaged a fuck ton of blood into the area and I loosened those muscles. And a lot of people don't realize that the base of the cock extends back behind the ball. So I love playing with that part. So that's kind of a deeper next level sort of play situation. And the final layer in my stackable list of kind of classic offerings is Cunnilingus. So that's me receiving Cunnilingus. That is something that I find very personal. So I really only want to do it with someone who really wants to do it with me, you know. And the way that I work, I use this as a stackable menu, you know. So if you want to go down on me, you also will receive the deluxe blowjob. You also will receive body worship and sex and the erotic massage and like it's all of it. The cuddly hang ideally will happen naked if we're doing all of those things. And it gives us a little bit more time. So when we get all the way up to all layers, you know, most people only need an hour. Some people only need 40 minutes. But if we're doing all of the stackable things, then we have a little bit more leeway with time because budget is appropriately stacking as well. Next, we get into some specialty things. So, you know, all your dreams can come true. I love specialty parties. I'm into prostate massage. I am a butt slut. I love assholes both ways. I love them. I think they're beautiful. Even if you're concerned, you're like, oh no, it looks this way. It has this little thing. It has that thing. Now, here's the thing. If you have an active hemorrhoid, please take care of your health and, you know, heal and do whatever you need to heal before doing anything that might exacerbate that, right? For anyone who is anal curious and wants to learn on their own without my guidance, I do recommend Anal Pleasure and Health, a guide for men, women, and couples by Jack Morin, PhD. So I was initially trained by a partner who was very into asses, and it was such a beautiful gift because early on I was like, well, I've always been anal curious. So the first time that I ever had sex, I was so excited because I'd been trying for a few years and I finally found someone who was safe and said yes and wanted to shepherd me through, and I wanted to try everything and I didn't know what I didn't know about assholes. And, you know, let's just say I have learned to use lube sense and I've learned how important the process of warm up is, and I've learned how to check in with a partner. I've learned how to play with both sphincters. So we have two sphincters. We have to get both of them ready to receive, to open up. And we really should allow the asshole to lead the way. And I mean that in the best, sweetest way. So for anyone who's anal curious, that is a specialty party that I offer. Oftentimes, if someone wants prostate massage, they may or may not be into pegging. I do have a strap-on. Gigi and I have matching strap-ons. We both love pegging parties. It's so hot. It's so fun. If you have never done pegging before, I do recommend you do some research and play with your own asshole a little bit first, because otherwise you may be so nervous or uncomfortable that it does not go the way that you expect. And I know that when I've had partners who are first timers, like receiving as a bottom, so my lovers who have explored their anus on their own first tend to be more mentally and emotionally relaxed during the experience, and they have an easier time receiving. Also, on that note, I definitely recommend bringing a dildo that you are comfortable with, a size that you're comfortable with, or checking in with the courtesan of your choice to see if she has that certain size in her kit. I really think it's excellent when people bring something they're comfortable with. Otherwise, you're at the mercy of the dicks that I brought with me on that trip. And next in that stack of specialty items is rimming. So if you've ever wanted to give or receive tongues on and or around an asshole, we can totally do that. I love that. I know that some people are very not into it, and I am not one of those people. Like I said, I love the sensation. I love receiving the sensation. We do use barriers for everything. So, we can put on a pair of laurels if you don't want to wear laurels, because sometimes penis owners are like, I can't wear a pair of undies, but it's like, well, it is very convenient. We use a dental dam, so that's nice and easy, and it's very pleasurable. Dental dams are easier because you just put it on and you can, put it on, take it off. Laurels, it's sort of like it's on or it's off, and then you have to get a new pair. And either way is good, right? So if you have ever wanted someone who's an enthusiastic rimmer, well, I am. And then next up in the specialty category is roleplay and or fetish. So this is where it really depends on what the ask is, what the need is. If it's kink or BDSM related, we really need a couple of hours in most cases. I have had some really sweet, like 30-minute sessions with people who came in and had utter clarity and a really good attitude and were very, very clear on exactly what their priorities were. And they were such great, well-communicated partners. That is great. If it's like, hey, here's my long negotiation list, and I need all this, and I want to be this and this and this, and then could you do this to me, and then that, and then we'll switch, and I'll do this, 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 and this to you. It's like, well, that's a GFE, it's a kinky GFE. And oftentimes, if someone is wanting to have an extended exploration or explore something for the first time, I think a longer session allows for more depth. It allows us to be spacious. It allows us to check in, to take breaks, to try it again, to try it differently. We can kind of do all the permutations if we're doing a kinky GFE. Otherwise, it's okay. We can do a specialty thing. We just may have to be more clear and boundaried about the time. And then fetish-wise, it really depends on what the fetish is. If someone wants me to like wear a puffy jacket with swisher material, that's different. That may not be in this price point. It could be different. It really just depends on what the need is. However, someone wants something that's much more involved and or specific, and or especially if there's any risk factor involved, if you want to receive impact play from me, if you want to give me impact play, that turns into a two-girl party automatically for safety purposes. If the lady is on the bottom. If the lady is your top, you are totally at her mercy. So, everything is possible. And that is a situation where it probably is best to write to the courtesan of your choice if you have a very specific desire and see if she's into it. So again, foot worship would not necessarily fall into this category, but could, depending on the circumstances, depending on the extent. And, someone who wants to like bind and gag me, that's going to be a different price point from someone who wants to like tickle me with a feather, which I fucking love. I love sensory play. I love receiving sensations of all kinds. As long as the container is clear, as long as we are in agreement, I even had someone that was like, I want to smoke in your face. We didn't end up doing it, but I was like, ooh, color me curious. I am a person, I am not a smoker. However, I have always really enjoyed, in moderation, when I have choice about it, the smell of smoke. And the other specialty category that is one of the most popular is me and or one of my other lady friends. So 2-girl or more girl parties are so fun. I have not yet done anything above a 2-girl. I've had 2 almosts when it came to 3-girl parties, and then one of them his card didn't go through the night before, and the next morning one of the ladies had to leave, so it was just me and the other lady and him instead of all three of us. That was a bummer, but it was also happy. And then another one recently, that guy had ridiculous expectations, and so he said no to us, but then he said yes to the next batch of three ladies that offered him the exact same thing we did. So that's also a good example of how sometimes people are so shocked by the negotiation process that they then realize that what they said no to initially is the best that they're going to get from anyone. And so then they say yes the second time. So my recommendation is like come in with a good attitude and say yes to the people that are your first pick. All of that is to say, me playing with other lady friends is one of my top favorite things. If you're like, ooh, who do you get along with? The answer is everyone. And the other answer is you can figure that out by looking at X. And the other answer is Gigi is my best friend in the whole wide world. Like in and out of the ranch, we're adventure buddies, we're travel buddies, we are growth partners. I love her to death. She's an incredible artist. She's my favorite model, muse. I love singing her songs with her. If you don't know Gigi, she is such a fantastic writer, both songs and regular writing, and she is a goddess in her own right. If you really, really, really want to make our largest dreams come true, please have an orgy with all of us on a week that I'm there. Me and Cora and some other ladies definitely have a fantasy that we're like, someday someone's going to come in and do a lineup and say, all of them. And anyone who's busy right now, have them join when they're free. So that's our big fantasy. So yeah, those are some good specialties. Certainly not the only specialties possible, right? Literally what you can imagine is possible. Now, some people prefer quickies, so there can be a quickie version of a half and half, a quickie, which is a blowjob and sex. There can be a quickie version of basic sex. There can be a quickie version of a blowjob. Even if I'm not deep throating you, I'm a very good blowjobber. I always like to play with the balls if they are the type of balls that appreciate that. Massage and hand job is always great. Hand job alone is great. I'm also super into parallel play, so oftentimes people are like, oh, no, I'm just the wingman. And I'm like, well, I could be on the bed, you could be on the couch or vice versa, and we could just like watch each other and get turned on, One of the hottest, most fun little quickie sessions I had was a guy who came in, he had a really limited budget, but the best attitude ever. And he was just like, you're so pretty, you're so pretty, you're so pretty. So we negotiated something where it was a no touch party. I was watching him, and encouraging him and telling him, and he was taking care of himself. But he was so cute. I was like, it's your lucky day, you can squeeze my boob. And so I let him squeeze one titty and he was so happy. And it was over really, really fast, So there really are all kinds of options. And again, if we're in the quickie budget range, I'm so down to get creative as long as the other person has a good attitude. I also offer outside the box offerings because I am an artist, I am a creative. We can do erotic story writing. Like if you want to bring in your writing and have that be part of our session, I'll go over it with you while I'm fucking you. Like I will give you notes while I'm on top, I also love erotic photography. And at the ranch, I am allowed to have sex with someone and also take naughty pictures of them. So I can get someone turned on. I can photograph only that person, only their parts, especially if someone like wants to build up their FetLife profile, but with better images. I mean, some people love the like regular, amateur, not glossy, like that's totally fine. But if someone wants, kind of that more artistic feel, I almost always have my camera with me. I travel with my lights wherever I go because I'm usually coming to and from set. So that is a very fun option. And I also can be on camera with a partner, depending on what we negotiate. That's really hot too. I'm also always down to record erotic audio if people want to record. Most people don't. Most people are shy. But I dream of the day where someone comes in and is like, yes, and I would like to add audio recording of our session together so that I can listen to it over and over and over again. I also have a fantasy of someone coming in and doing a session, and I would totally record a podcast on site if I have my gear with me. Half the time I have my microphones with me. It just depends. It really depends on what I'm doing. So if you're like, I would love to, record an episode before or after, or before and after would be so interesting. And if it's a podcast recording that I can share publicly, not just a private for your archives only sort of situation, if it's something that I can share on how to woo, I will be much more generous with time because typically, assuming depending on my appointment schedule, because typically I am like focused at the ranch, and then I'm somewhere traveling for fun, which usually also includes photo shoots of myself and other people. And then I come back to Los Angeles, and usually I'm in Los Angeles when I do podcast recordings. Sometimes the podcasts I record on location if I'm shooting. It gets trickier when I'm flying because it's a lot of gear to bring on top of regular packing things, and I try to pack light. It's hard sometimes when I'm bringing podcast gear and photo gear and my sex toys and my slutty outfits and my regular outfits and toiletries, and food. It can be a lot. So packing for a brothel trip is a lot. And if I'm already at the ranch and you want to see me and you know that you want to be a guest on How to Woo, let me know ahead of time and we can chat schedules, because that is so hot to me. There are a couple of guests that I've had who have been lovers either before the recording or after. If you listen, you can guess who they are. Sometimes it's very obvious. Sometimes it's not. People do not guess correctly a lot. I also do offer erotic video clips. And again, this can be me capturing you and a partner only, and we can play it together during, before, or after. Or depending on what we agree upon, it can be us together. And that is for private use only, unless you already have an OnlyFans and sign a thing saying I can post it too. And then you can put, either we both post it or we both keep it private. And there is paperwork that comes along with those sorts of offerings. Lastly, you are always allowed to give us just the tip. We love tips of all sizes. It brings good karma. You can always leave a party or tour review. Whether or not you party, you can leave me a review. You could leave a review on Sheri's website saying, I love her podcast. Oh my gosh, she's so nice. She gives helpful information to people because she wants them to have helpful information because she wishes she had more helpful information when she was growing up. And I've just become a big, huge sex nerd for my whole life. So what can't we do? Now, you're probably wondering, she's a butt slut, so we can have anal sex. Legally, we cannot. We cannot legally kiss or have anal. Kissing and anal are special, which is to say that they are forbidden. At the ranch, my asshole is known as the forbidden crater, forbidden lunar crater. So the legal way to do sex work is we must avoid fluid exchange. So my spit and your spit, my spit and wetness, your spit and wetness, your cum and any of that. We cannot do that. You cannot come on a face. You can't get it in my eyes. You can't come near my mouth. I'm comfortable having come on my boobies or my belly. Like, that is fun for me, provided we discuss it ahead of time. Surprising us with that is tricky because for us to feel safe, we just need to make sure that it stays away from, I'm doing hands chin up and hands belly down, like a kind of hip level down. So we need to keep cum away from those areas to make sure that we are being safe and following the law. And there is a very tiny sign in the office at Sheri's Ranch that states that anal sex is not offered. We courtesans are not swabbed and tested in the anus or in our throat. So even with condoms, these are activities that offer a higher legal and physical risk to any who might choose to participate. So just keep in mind, if you are ever asking a lady for kissing or anal sex, you are asking for an illegal activity. So those are very high risk things in any case. And literally all of us who work there would like to keep our jobs. There's a reason that we work there. There's a reason that we seek out legal, safe things. So yes, I am a butt slut. No, legally, we do not offer kissing or anal services. So to recap, any type of fluid exchange, saliva, wetness, cum, any kissing, oral, penetrative sex without protective barriers like condoms, dental dams, or lorals, that's not allowed. Also, just remember, if you touch your own genitals or put your fingers in your mouth or anything like that, it's best to wash hands before touching the partner, and we always use lube instead of spit. So we just have to kind of keep track of that. I'm really good at that. It sounds more complicated than it is. It's pretty easy. So to recap, activities available at a legal brothel, everything is possible with the right attitude and the right budget. And we also have safety standards that we have to adhere to. Plus, every single lady has her own set of preferences and limits. And, communication is key to finding overlap. The clearer you are on your desires, especially if you can articulate them, the easier it is for us to communicate and deliver your desires. And if you're not clear, that's okay. You can collaborate with your courtesan of choice to figure it out, provided that you are willing to collaborate. Okay, so hopefully that is helpful. If you have any additional questions that are not answered here that are on this topic, or any other questions that are not answered in my FAQs, you can email me through my website. You can visit lunarrobbie.com/FAQ if you want to see all of the written versions of these episodes. And let me know if there's something there I haven't covered yet. And as always, make sure to follow your hearts and follow your parts, and you'll be good to go.